I'm Peter Stanton, and I'm the publisher of the Worcester Business Journal, and we are very pleased to have all of you here this afternoon for our annual Business Leader of the Year event. It's always one of our favorites of the year, where we combine some really lovely awards, well-deserved awards, with a conversation first about leadership. And so we'll be having all the honorees up here and a conversation moderated by Joe Sarkis from Clark University's Graduate School of Management and Rick Saia, our editor. However, before we get started with that panel conversation and then the awards afterwards, I wanted to make a special thanks to the people who make this event possible, and that is our sponsors. And our two presenting sponsors are Clark University's Graduate School of Management and Charter Business. And our supporting sponsor is none other than the Hanover Theater. So for a few opening remarks, I'd like to welcome up to the microphone Joe Sarkis, the interim dean and professor at Clark University's Graduate School of Management. Joe, yes, take over right there. That's perfect.
Thank you, Peter. I have some prepared remarks here to give you a little background about us, our program, and why we're sponsoring this event here as well. Clark University and the Graduate School of Management, GSOM is what we call the Graduate School of Management, is honored again to be partnering with the Worcester Business Journal to sponsor the Business Leaders of the Year ceremony, which is this event today. We feel that this type of ceremony and recognition is important to the community service in recognizing the best and brightest companies and leaders within our community. We enjoy our partnership with the WBJ in sponsoring other events as well. Not only this event, but we've also sponsored the Doing Business in China Forum last year, and we look forward to sponsoring the Family Business Awards events later this year as well. So Clark University, being a member of our community, partnering with our community members, is very important to us. Now, this event is an extra special focus for us because it fits within one of our strategic imperatives, and that is to build social change management awareness and action in our students, faculty, staff, and hopefully our community as well. We realize that leadership in our organizations and communities is important for their success. We also realize that leadership, while maintaining a socially conscious perspective, is not easy. Within GSOM's strategic mission, we explicitly seek to help our students understand the complexities in managing and balancing organizational good with social good. We have a number of programs in place to make this happen. Within our MBA program, we have the basic foundational concentrations, such as the ones you're familiar with: finance, marketing, accounting, international business, and management. We have an important concentration, another one, a non-traditional one, in social change. International community development play a significant role in this social change concentration. As you see on your seats, we give a little bit of background in terms of what we offer from our courses, from the traditional and non-traditional perspective, in our newsletter. We also have, in a more traditional sense, a Master of Science program that is second to none in the whole world. Along with the rigors of financial management and modeling, social consciousness is something we seek to integrate into these programs as well. We also have an interesting dual degree program, an MBA and MA program, with International Development, Community, and Environment Department at our school. And it is another high quality and unique program that is offered that is on the world-class level as well. These are the things we are currently doing. What I also want to bring to your attention is things that are not in our newsletter but will be in our newsletter in the future are a couple of new programs that we are introducing for the first time at Clark University during my tenure here, and actually in the last 20 years. The Master of Science degree in Accounting will be a new program that we're offering to our community. We did a market analysis. We found that the Worcester area is not being served well from an accounting perspective, at least a Master of Science accounting program that allows students to eventually get their CPAs at the end of the program, or helps them to achieve a CPA. can't guarantee it. It depends on the student more than anything else. But we do give you the skills to be able to take the exam. We do believe that this program will be valuable to the Worcester community where no other such program exists. We have also done something else. In our social change program, we had a number of different divisions. And what we decided to do, because of more than anything else, an interest in the topical area, is to take it out of this one topic out of social change and give it its own concentration due to demand by industry and demand by our students. And we have a new concentration that we just organized in sustainability. So now students are able to get an MBA in sustainability at our school and university, and that will be forthcoming as well. These programs are open to everyone here and in our community, and we'd love to see the community be more involved in our classrooms as well. And we also have contacts here. Patrick, would you like to stand up? Our Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment's over here. So he can tell you about the good corporate deals that we offer. Right, Patrick?
Discounts for everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Also, we look to you, to our community, to take advantage of the global and social knowledge and skills that our MBA and MSF students, and eventually our MSA students, provide. These students possess skills that go beyond the necessary basics and fundamentals, as you've seen with the different programs that we offer. And some of our students are here. They're kind of over there, and I'll ask them to stand up as well. Students, please stand up. So please, when you later on at the reception, mingle with our students and talk to them about the programs that we have to offer here. And if you're interested in finding highly skilled and knowledge human capital for your organization, please see Lisa Radomski. Lisa, can you plan? And she's our career services person. Internships, so you get cheap labor. Is it cheap labor? No, I shouldn't say that. Yes, talented labor. Part of our growing acknowledgement to the importance of leadership and management practice to responsible management has culminated, and this is a new issue as well, in a report on the United Nations Principles of Responsible Management. We also call that PRIME. And that report, what GSOM is doing from a Principles of Responsible Management perspective, will be made public in early March. We're hoping March 1st. And there'll be a report out there so the community can see of the things that we're doing. And one of the things that will be in the report will be this award that we're given today for social, or our Corporate Citizen of the Year, and we'll have more to talk about that later. Thank you, Peter.
Terrific. Thank you, Joe. And now I'd like to welcome up Kelly. Thank you. I'd like to welcome up Kelly Marcimo, who's a major account executive at Charter Business. Kelly.
Good afternoon. I brought my technology with me today. As Peter said, I'm Kelly Marcimo. I'm a major account executive with Charter Business, and we are pleased to be presenting sponsors at this event today. We'd like to thank Peter Stanton and the folks at Worcester Business Journal for making the business community strong and giving us this opportunity to acknowledge the business leaders of the year. Charter was eager to sponsor this event, although we didn't pick the date. Just wanted to let you know that. But no, really. Of course, it's great. We're happy to be here, and if you made a reservation for dinner upstairs, there's no commute, so that's a win-win. I hope that you're all familiar with Charter Business. We are part of Charter Communications, and we are the 4th largest telecommunications company in the United States. Because we're number 4, we try harder. Customer experience is a big priority for us, so we meet personally with all of our customers, and we bring our expertise and service offering that can improve performance, increase productivity, while reducing costs. So that's what's important for you to know about our company. I'm sure all the honorees would agree that communications is key to success, and that's why everyone needs CB, or Charter Business, as we like to call it. We deliver our communication services across a fiber optic network, which we own and maintain right down to the last mile. And our fiber optic services are perfect for businesses who are looking for reliability and scalability. We start our fiber internet at 5 meg, and it scales all the way up to 1 gig. So you can start off small, and it will grow with your company. And it will get your employees working at a faster pace, working smarter, not harder. If you need network between multiple locations, we can get you connected. If you're looking for great savings, you can add a T1 PRI or SIP trunking telephone service, and that will connect your PBX over the fiber and will entitle you to bundled discounts. And that will also give you one bill to manage for all your communication needs. Smaller businesses, we have our coax services available, and those give you great speeds with competitive pricing, includes internet, telephone, and TV, available with bundled discounts also. And one last thing you need to know, Charter Business Referral Agent Program. For all of you great networkers out there, if you have lots of connections, you can get paid for helping others see the light for what we offer. So if you refer customers to us, you can earn up to $5,000 per referral. So I'm sure a lot of you might be interested in that. If you're interested in us on a business level, whether for primary or secondary services, or if you're interested in finding out more about our referral agent program, I would refer you to my Charter Business team members, who I would ask to just please stand up or put your hand up so everyone can see in the room who they can approach. We have quite a few people in here for you. And again, we want to thank the Worcester Business Journal for this opportunity, and congratulations to all the business leaders of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Very well done. By the way, Chris Prosser and I were talking about how we ended up with this date, and she threw out, we got 4 very busy people that we're honoring here, and of course, she threw out an email with a whole bunch of dates, and guess what were the only date that everybody could make it on? Valentine's Day. So, we're gonna get right into the program. I'm gonna ask Rick Sayer, the editor of the Worcester Business Journal, to come up to this microphone, and I know Joe Sarkis is gonna sort of also stand down there, and between the two of them, they're gonna conduct they'll bring up our panel and our winners and conduct a Q&A session. At around 5:30, and you can hold me accountable for this, I will come up and interrupt a very wonderful conversation and say, it's time to get into the awards. We'll have the awards, and then, right then, those doors will magically open up, a bar will be open, there will be food to eat, and we'll all socialize. So that's what it looks like over the next hour or so. So anyways, let's get on with the program. Rick, if you could come up, and Joe, and we'll get the folks up on our panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, and good afternoon. It's great to see all of you on this lovely early April day in mid-February. It's a great honor for me to be part of the Worcester Business Journal's annual celebration of excellence in leadership for the first time since I became the editor last summer. While we produce many events at the WBJ, this event is particularly special. At no other time do we gather such impressive leaders in our business community to share their stories and insights about what makes a great leader and a great business. I'd like to tell you a little story that offers a lesson in leadership. It's a young man who was living at home with his mother, and one Sunday morning, his mom knocks on the door and says, "It's time to go to church." And the son gives her a little attitude and says, "I don't really want to go to church today, okay? Give me one good reason why I should go." And she goes, "I'll do better than that. I'll give you 2. Number 1, judging from your attitude right now, you need to go. And the second reason is you have to be there because, well, you're the pastor." Now, as that story points out, the young man was a leader who had a bit of difficulty getting up in the morning and to go and lead his people. While there are times we find it difficult to drag ourselves out of bed, I think the thing that distinguishes good leaders from everyone else is their willingness to get up every day, no matter how things are going at their places of business, and embrace whatever challenges lie ahead of them. Good leaders have a passion for what they do and love a challenge. Passion and love. That's my only tie-in to Valentine's Day. I'd like to give you a little bit of background on these awards and how we select our honorees. First, we solicit nominations from the community, primarily through promotion in the WBJ Daily Report, our free email newsletter. We also have a running list of noteworthy leaders that we've compiled over the years. For the big business, small business, and nonprofit business leaders of the year, we review the accomplishments of the nominees for the given year and judge them based on their leadership, the company's financial performance, their focus on the community, and whether they have a compelling story to share with our readers. While we take input from the business community through this process, the final selections of these 3 awards are made internally by the leaders at the Worcester Business Journal. The process for the Corporate Citizen Award is slightly different. We seek nominations for this award, but require companies to complete a detailed application in order to be considered. Then we, along with Clark University's Graduate School of Management, judge the applicants based on ethics, governance, community, workplace, and concern for the environment. Each year, we aim to bring together a strong group of honorees and also work to tell their stories through our print product as well as this event. So once again, we're honored to bring these leaders together and look forward to learning from them today. And now to introduce the members of our panel. First, we have Mark Durrenberger, founder and president of New England Breeze Solar in Hudson, our Small Business Leader of the Year. Mark, if you could come up to the podium. Have a seat. Next, we have Chuck Ferris, president and CEO of Spectrum Health Systems in Worcester, our nonprofit business leader of the year. Next, we have George Sakellaris, president and CEO of Amoresco, Inc. of Framingham, our large business leader of the year. And finally, we have Brian Thompson, president and CEO of Commerce Bank and Trust, our Corporate Citizen of the Year award winner. Thanks for straightening that out. The format of the panel discussion will go like this. My co-moderator, Joe Sarkis, will be asking a few general questions of each of our honorees. I'll then interject questions that are specific to the honorees. We'll break at about 5:30, 5:15, 5:20 or so for questions from the audience, so please think of questions as the discussion progresses. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you, Rick. Congratulations, panelists. I didn't get to congratulate you earlier, so it's wonderful to be here for that. The first question I have, and we did supply you with the questions, so these are not surprise, gotcha type questions that I like to ask in a classroom. The first question that I have deals with leadership, and I'd like to know what you feel, each of you, as we go down the line here, what are one or maybe two characteristics that make someone a good leader? And how easy, in the second portion of that question, is it for someone to acquire these characteristics? And we'll begin, well, at the far end. Mark, why don't we begin with you?
I find my job is to let everybody else come up with the good ideas and encourage them to bring them out. I think there's a huge amount of creativity with the people I work with, and if we're not hearing that, then we're losing opportunities. So now, how do you get that? I think, it's never no, it's always yes and that's a great idea, and build on it. That's mostly what I do.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
I think that a couple of things come readily to mind. I think a leader's got to be able to listen. They got to listen and not act like you're listening, but really listen. Right? I think a leader also has to set an example. As we say in the recovery field, you got to not only talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. Right? And I think that's also very important. And I think you got to be able to take some risk, all right, and show that by example also. You're going to take some calculated risks and be forward thinking. Always forward thinking, never looking backwards.
How do you build those skills? Especially the listening one.
Some of them are innate, I think. I think some of them you learn from experience. I think some of them you learn by making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. And I think a good, healthy work environment allows people to make mistakes without having to worry about retribution.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. George?
Great comments, especially the listening one. And I always try to tell my employees, and for myself, not only to listen to the employees, but to the customers. And then, as you pointed out, some of the constitutions that are what I call the social responsibility that we have as corporate leaders, as well as, to our stockholders, you have the customers, you have your employees. So you got to listen to all those constituencies that you have. So that was a great, great comment. But as a leader, though, I look as well that somebody that can establish a very clear vision, and not only the vision that he thinks is best for the corporation, but the vision that he truly has the passion for it. Because I think at the end of the day, in order to show the good example that the leader will do, if you have the passion, you will work harder. Otherwise, you will have the perseverance and the determination that you will go with it. And then in addition to that now, the great leader, you have to be a good communicator and and my wife added this particular word, get the right team to follow you. And I want to extend that not only to follow you, but to make the mission of the corporation as their passion, their mission and their passion, because now they will rise above and work, go that extra mile that you need in order to be very successful in the entrepreneurial enterprise, especially if you say to them like us, our goal is to grow 15 to 20% per year. And unless the people have the passion and the determination and perseverance, they will get bored of it. They will get tired. So, and to me, that's one of the great things that you have to look into with leader.
Vision is what you mentioned. This is
Right.
looking for the long term. Now, most of us look at the short term. What are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to do today? How do you learn to think in the long term and get everybody else to buy into that long term?
The great leader, you establish the vision and then you break it down to tasks. You say, okay, we want every house to be energy efficient. How do we get there? So, and you break it down to individual goals and individual tasks, and then you get people to work with you, or the employees to work with you in establishing those particular goals. And thank you. And it's an excellent, great question, because that's what it's all about. How you translate, because a vision, it just can be just a bunch of words. But how you take that vision and translate it to a plan that you can execute, and people can buy into the particular plan and then make it their own. And that's where we spend. And the difference that I saw one of the questions between entrepreneurial, see some of the things that you have to do as a small company and what you have to do as a big company. And you go from 2 or 3 or 5 persons gang to a big corporation, and that's when you have to translate the particular mission to individual goals and strategies. And some of them, they will be for the quarter, some they will be for the year, some they are the long-term goals or strategies.
Thank you, George. Brian, you're the last one, and you're the most difficult one to answer because they've said a lot. Tell us some more.
Happy Valentine's Day. I found my red tie.
Yeah.
Duddy told me this morning that he said it didn't look that good on me, but I said it's Valentine's Day, so you're going to have to put up with it. So here I am, and nice to see so many of our friends and here today. Acknowledge Joe and Clark because we have identified and hired 3 great, what we hope to be leaders for our bank that came out of the Clark School of Management, the graduate program. And they're smart, they work hard, you know, they got great attitudes, they've got a lot of these skills that we talked about earlier. Not to be redundant, though.
I didn't pay him for that, by the way. He did it on his own.
You know, I think that I don't think you can take it for granted, but surely it's a starting point in its integrity. You got to have that before you ring the bell, and that's about having the highest of moral and ethical standards. And so that's number one that on our list of things that we look for. And then I kind of thought a little different twist is leadership genetic, or is it a learned behavior? And I think it's a combination of both. That I think that a lot of what happens to someone in their early childhood, in their play groups and in their family structures, and many of you have families, and brothers are different than the next brother, and neighbors are different, and they all kind of grew up in the same environment, but they are different. And some are going to are followers. It doesn't mean it's bad, it just means that that's kind of who they are, and some are kind of natural leaders. So I think some of it comes, in role modeling and so forth when they're young. And then I think when you get to a work experience, it's you got to have the opportunity, you got to have the education, you got to have the opportunity. I think it's so important to have role models, to have mentors in your life, and good work habits. And you'd say, well, that's easy. It's not easy. Most companies don't provide that. And so that if you're fortunate enough to identify someone who can give you that kind of mentoring and give you that kind of push and give you that opportunity, then I think that you will enhance your leadership skills going forward.
Thank you very much, Brian. So to summarize, creativity, values and integrity, strong communication and listening, and long-term vision seem to be all the issues that you brought up in terms of what makes portions of great or a good leader. And hopefully you represent all those in some form or fashion. So thank you for answering that question. Rick, you want to take over with the question?
Okay, thank you, Joe. Mark, you're going to lead off again here. You're the quote-unquote little guy here as the award winner in the small business category. What does it take to sustain and grow a small business today?
Business.
Makes sense. Next question.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me up here, right? No. Let's see. You have to be persistent, consistent. I think that it's very easy to get distracted. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and the real challenge is staying on one thing that you do really well and do it really well. Even though there's lots of nice carrots that we could all go for. So it's really important that we stay focused on what we're doing and catch ourselves when we're trying or we're thinking about, oh, this would be a good opportunity. Maybe we should do that. You know, that's a lot of it. Of course, making your customers happy is obviously the number one thing, and we are very proud of our relationship with our customers, and have stories to tell about all of them. You know, good stories, and we know where they're coming from, and I think that's part of the reason why they hire us. So, you know, connecting with the customer really important as well.
And focus, service, communication. If I were to pick 3 words, after all, editor,
That's fair.
I got to come up with words sometimes.
Sure.
For Chuck, a question for you. You've been affiliated with Spectrum since the 1960s. You don't see such longevity nowadays. What is it that has kept you wedded to the organization that you now lead?
I think the mission. I think the constantly evolving mission. I think that, as I keep saying to our staff, we have to continuously adapt to a changing business environment, but still stick to our core principles. And, you know, when the addiction treatment business started back in the late 60s, early 70s, I was telling Matt when he interviewed me, it was really kind of outside of the mainstream of things. It was a counterculture almost type of, I wouldn't even call it an industry at that time. It was filling a need that nobody else was. And in very rapidly, over the last 40 years, it's really kind of evolved into a very sophisticated, refined kind of business, much more in the mainstream. But if we think back in terms of what we started out doing in the 60s in terms of our mission, that mission hasn't changed much. But we have to keep adapting to a continuously changing business environment. When we kind of lived from hand to mouth back there in the 60s and very frugally, I think that was good training for us, living very frugally, because we knew how to survive. All right? And I think a lot of that has to do for survive, because I think any of us in business know that there are peaks and valleys. It's not always good times. There are times when there's a downturn, and there's times when you thrive. And you have to take advantage of those. But you also have to remember that it's not going to last forever. But if we keep continuously adapting to that changing business environment, but stick to our core principles, and I think we can't go wrong.
Again, the message of focus and not straying from it. Question for you, George. For much of the last 30 years, energy efficiency got relatively little attention from energy consumers. What took everyone else so long to catch up to what you were talking about 30 years ago?
It's, you know, we started being in the energy efficiency business back in 79, 80. And the biggest barriers to energy efficiency is the fact that not too many people believe that the ultimate potential of energy efficiency is that large. But what we have found out, and lately we're beginning to get the traction, that you waste as much as over 20% of the energy we use is wasted. And that energy can be saved economically. Otherwise, you can make the investment and you will get your money back 5 to 6 years, which is a very, very good investment by itself. But not too many people believed. And energy, the other thing, was pretty cheap. Going back to the 70s, and the prices didn't start taking off until 1979, 1980, and that's when we started getting involved into the business. And to give you a little bit perspective on the potential, and you say why we have the passion and why I have spent my life in this business, 20% energy savings, if you translate that, it's equivalent per year, 26 billion barrels of oil can be saved today. With the technology that we have today, if everybody got to be as energy efficient as possible within making an investment of 5 to 6 year payback. And then you say, okay, if we did that, the result in environmental benefits, it's about 12 billion metric tons of CO2 that you avoid. So, but it took a long time for companies and individuals to catch on the fact that energy efficiency, yes, indeed, it's real. And that's why when we started the business way back, we used to say, okay, I will go to a particular client, and I can name some clients here in Worcester, and say, look, we will put up the money to implement the energy efficiency measures. It will take a percentage of the savings. We said, sure, go ahead and do it. And that's how we were able to convince them that it will happen. So it's
A solid business proposition.
it's-
Brian, your organization is being honored today as our Corporate Citizen of the Year. Why do you think it's important for a business to be involved in its community?
I think that to many of us, and many of us in this room, it's in your DNA. You kind of feel like it's your responsibility, and you lead an organization, and you believe that you have so much to give, and then you want to give, and then you find the places to do that. We're awful proud of our community here. We want to help our community. We're in a position to help our community, and there are many in this community who need our help. And so I think that it kind of understanding the need and then saying you want to do that. We're fortunate in Worcester. We're a very fortunate community. We have good corporate leadership in this community. Obviously, it's never enough, but we have a lot of good leadership. Our colleges provide some of that leadership. They provide ideas. They provide manpower. We have foundations which provide a lot of support to various organizations within our community, as well as individuals and companies. And from a selfish point of view, it's good for our business because we're really a reflection of our community. If our communities are successful, then we can be successful. And conversely, the reverse would also be true. So, I think it's, we get up every day and we try to help our bank, and we also see if there's a way in which we can help our community.
Thanks, Brian. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you, Rick. You heard me earlier talk about our new concentration in sustainability. Now, sustainability typically is defined by a three-legged stool: economic well-being, environmental well-being, and social well-being. And that's our definition with the triple bottom line idea. Now, our MBAs are being taught these in their business topics, and they need to also consider, as an MBA and as a manager, the well-being of future generations, another aspect of sustainability, which is at the core of most of the ideals with sustainability. So the question I have to the panel, and we'll begin with Brian this time since he was the last time, how do you think today's leaders need to manage in this type of environment with these multiple dimensions? And I know you've answered some of it, so let's see if there's more to it.
Well, I think it has to be part of your plan. It has to be part of your strategic plan. You just can't say you're going to do it and then everybody goes about doing whatever they do, every day. So I think everybody has to be part of your plan, and it has to be not a top-down approach, but really a lot of people within your company who can bring forth ideas that can be helpful. One of the things that we do is we do a lot of lending in the solar area, and which is really in sustainability.
Yeah.
It's an area that we hadn't done anything in probably 2 or 3 years ago, and in the state of Massachusetts has some initiatives out there that make it that to induce people to put solar panels and to develop solar energy. And it's been a good business for us, and we've learned a lot about it. I think that that in itself helps its sustainability. But it's also economic. We look at sustainability as economic. We lend to small businesses. We try to make our community stronger, through small business lending. And then obviously the social aspect of it, and it's the workplace and having a safe environment for your employees to work, and reward them economically and through appropriate recognition and providing growth opportunities for them. We think that's sustainability as well.
Yeah, Brian, you did the triple bottom line, just like I mentioned. And as a matter of fact, it seems that every one of these organizations here is represented by the triple bottom line. We have the economics with the banking industry. We have the environmental with the solar and the energy efficiency. And of course, we have the social good as well. So we'll move on down to George, and you can talk a little bit about your views on leadership and sustainability.
No question about it that every leader of every corporation today, it has to take into account, and I mentioned it earlier, the social and economic impact of whatever that particular company is doing. And we happen to be lucky, I would say, that our company, we are in a sustainability business, because basically what we are doing, we retrofit in energy infrastructure facilities, they're old and inefficient, and we make them energy efficient. So we provide economic good for the stockholders or for the employees. In addition to that, we remove pollutants from the environment. And in addition to that, from sustainability point of view, like I said, if we were able to achieve that 20% energy efficient, we wouldn't have to burn that 26 billion barrels of oil equivalent per year. But we happen to be in a business that does all that. But going beyond that, though, it's extremely important that, and people, they talk about a three-legged stool. I put it on four.
What's the fourth?
And that's what the customers, the
Okay.
product. You got to look at the product, you got to look at your stockholders, you got to look at the government, and then the social impact, everything else that has.
Here's a question for you. You own a building right now, or you're in a building?
Mm-hmm.
Is your building energy efficient?
I would say yes.
And you've asked them to be energy efficient.
That's
Did you
correct.
push for that, or were they behind?
And that's our mission. We want to make sure that we try to make every energy efficient building as efficient as as efficient as possible.
Okay, thank you.
But you will find out, and what happens in many buildings, because the owners, they pass the cost to the tenant. They're very hard to convince them to do it, and that's one of the institutional barriers that you have, and why the product hasn't been implemented to the extent that's possible.
Thank you, George.
Mhm.
Chuck?
Well, being in the nonprofit sector, certainly the social purpose of why we exist is kind of interwoven into our DNA. But I think we also recognize that as a nonprofit, we benefit a great deal from the communities that we operate in, and that we can't just take, we have to give back as well. And it's a reciprocal relationship with the communities. We have to be good neighbors. We can't just take, we have to put back. And some of that is in the form of the services we deliver to the people who come from these communities, but also by just being good neighbors. If we're in a neighborhood, or if we're in a outside of a community, we have to operate like good neighbors and give back, not just take out of there. In terms of sustainability, if we're going to sustain our purpose and our mission, we have to look at our interactions with the people we work with as long-term relationships, whether they're our customers, whether they be donors, whether they be foundations. These are long-term relationships. They're not individual transactions. Right? And some of those relationships we've had going back, 20 years plus. So we have to always take the long-term view if we're gonna sustain our mission, sustain our purpose, not just look at what have you done for me today, all right? It has to be down the road, and never leave it, if we leave an opportunity with somebody, in such a way that you can't go back and revisit it.
Okay, thank you, Chuck.
Let's see. Community is extremely important. I'm a firm believer of a high tide floats all boats. And we recognize that whatever we can give back to the community will come back to us in some way, shape, or form. And so we tread lightly on the planet, and we think about all the people around us and try to help them do the same. Sustainability, that's what we're all about. We recognize that we live on a finite planet, and that we're trying to help everybody understand that and be able to live a little bit lighter on the planet, because we want it to last. I got into this business because of my kids and their kids, thinking about the future, and I want to make sure they have a great place to live when I'm long gone.
So strategic in your sense isn't the next 5 to 10 years, but the next 100 years.
I'm reminded of some phrase, I believe it's a Native American phrase, the 7th generation yet unborn. I'm not thinking 5, 10, 15 years. I'm thinking 100, 200, whatever years down the road.
And how easy is that to do? 7 generations down.
Try it. It's a really fascinating mental exercise to try to
Okay.
imagine 7 years.
We'll
7
leave it.
generations.
We'll leave it to every individual to think about it tonight while you're thinking about it.
It's easier after a martini.
Yeah, or 2. Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. Rick, you want to ask another specific question?
Yes, we won't be showing the Jetsons after this. Brian, you have your finger on the pulse of the central Massachusetts economy. What do you see happening this year and over, say, the next 5 years?
I don't know about the next 5 years, but
7
you know,
generations?
if I were to
7 generations.
if I were to say one thing at the moment, I'd say that the things are getting better, and hopefully all of you feel that within your own business. Smaller businesses we're seeing who had really been the laggards, a bit larger companies had kind of come back a little stronger, quicker. The smaller companies are starting to catch up. Employment is strengthening. It seems like most every company that I've been to in the last, since let's say the holidays, people are hiring 1, 2, 3, 4, new engineer, new something for their company. So anecdotally, I would say that, from an employment point of view, we see improvement. I think if you're in the housing, construction area, you still are in a segment of the economy that's going to be slow for a considerable period of time. I think that healthcare is going to continue to be in center focus in the media as the industry continues its revolution of going for fee for service to that of capitation. And that's going to be a story that's going to unfold over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's a huge national issue, and no one has an easy answer, and we're going to hear a lot more about it. I think from a state tax levies point of view, the state tax revenues are up considerably over what they've been in the past, and I think that's going to be helpful to our communities who have been under severe pressure in their own budgets to handle the cuts that were coming from local aid. So with that maybe stabilizing, and maybe at some point we'll start to see some improvement, the MBTA aside, that I think that we're going to, that's going to also be helpful to the communities in which we live. But generally, I think the economy is improving. If I were to look ahead, I think, the employment situation, we're at 6.8, I think, in Massachusetts, and we're kind of moving in the,
Even better here, I think. Yeah.
and so we've moved in the right direction there. Interest rates are at all-time lows. They'll continue to be low for some period of time, although if you look out 5 years, we might see some increase in there. I think that we're in for a long struggle with the home real estate values and the pricing, so I think that that's going to be something that will evolve. If you look out 5 years, surely we'll be stabilized and probably making some upward trends, but there isn't going to be probably a lot of new construction for considerable period of time. And probably technology, which has probably been the biggest area of change in my career and probably in the last 5 years. And what we're going to see in 5 years from now, I can't even, I don't even know. All I know is we're twice as big today as we were when I came to Commerce in 2004, and we had the same number of people.
I've actually seen
So
that future.
that would tell you that, you know, that, I mean, it's not, and we may have different people, we may have different positions.
That's
but
called
we have become much more efficient in how we manage our business and how we manage our channels of distribution. And I think going forward, margins are still, in the banking industry, there's pressure on margins, and we're just going to have to even become more efficient and in ways that we don't even know today. So the good news is I think that we're headed in the right direction. You know, social media, 5 years, newspapers, TV, what role they're going to play, I really have no idea.
It looks like you're doing human energy efficiency. Maybe you can do together there and start another business.
No, we're focused on solar right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, media, I think they'll be around in 5 years. I hope so. George, you founded 2 companies. How did the founding of your first company affect how you founded and grew Amoresco?
That's a good question. On the first one, especially starting out, like I said, a few people, we were focused more in developing a particular project or a particular product for a particular customer. The second time around, and we learned a lot the first time, we focused much more around the customer and then making sure I have the right team in place. And by that, what I mean, because what had happened in the industry in the 90s, energy efficiency and commodity, many companies, they were trying to bundle that service. And we decided that the customer wants to know what he's paying or she paying from for the commodity, otherwise electricity or gas, or for the value-added services, which is the energy efficiency projects. So we said, we will develop a business model where we approach our solution from the customer's perspective. Otherwise, design a product that's around the particular customer needs. It will be flexible enough to package it in such a way that we will make a profit. Because I learned from the first company, my biggest competitors were Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Siemens. And the other thing, in order to compete against them, we said, we have to approach a solution from the customer perspective and thereby be technology agnostic. And that served us very, very, very well. And it's tremendous. So that's the difference. We focused much more on the customer and the solution around that particular customer need. And we developed pretty good traction on it. And then the other thing that we did, we said, okay, we're going to compete with these people, with these big, large companies. And that's why when we try to hire people, we look for individuals that they have what I call the can-do type of an attitude. Mm-hmm. So especially when you take big companies, big corporations, giants, what I call them, that you don't get intimidated. We said, look, we will develop not only technology agnostic in our solution around the customer need, but in addition to that, we develop much broader technical expertise. And then I said, okay, if we do that, what do I need? I have to develop the best, find the best people in the country. And then we said, okay, how do you attract them? And then we developed a stock option plan. About 40% of the company is owned by the employees. So that gave us a great competitive advantage in the marketplace the second time around. And in addition to that, we say, what do they have that we don't have? They have the national footprint. So the next one, we established the goal, how do we establish a national footprint? So we went from one office here in Framingham to 62 offices now across the United States and Canada. We did it by acquisition, so we learned a lot the first time.
Thanks, George. Chuck, in our story on you for our Business Leaders of the Year issue last month, you talked about the struggles Spectrum has faced during your tenure. You kind of addressed change and, rolling with the times during your 40 years there. But from your perspective, what's the best way for a business leader to deal with an organization's struggles yet lead his team effectively?
I think, as I said earlier, you have to learn from your mistakes. I think you have to not live with regrets, and you have to move along. If you don't take any risk, you're not going to make any mistakes. All right? You got to be able to take a risk, but at the same time, not be reckless. You know, in our particular business, a significant, probably the majority of the money we deal with is governmental money contracts. So we have various levels of government, from federal right on down to local, and in 8 different states. And we also benefit from a lot of donations from individuals, from corporate sponsors, from foundations. And we have to have that ethic instilled with us that we have a responsibility with these funds. These are funds that were either given to us or given to us through contract, and these are taxpayers' dollars if they come to that. And I think by setting the tone that we have to have an ethical approach to the management of these funds, I think it gets you through the tough times. As we know, right now, the economy's been kind of in the doldrums for the last several years. When the economy's in the doldrums, opportunities for an organization like Spectrum go down, because the government doesn't have that much discretionary money to spend on services. So we have to be able to say, okay, these are the times that we have prepared for. We still have a focus on the several thousand people that we have in our treatment programs, and over 1,000 employees that we have that rely on us for their livelihood and their family's well-being. So you have to stay focused on that and recognize that this isn't always going to be good times. There's going to be ups and downs. And if we have an ethical approach to what we do, and we're disciplined in managing the resources that we have, that it permeates down to the organization. And again, it sets an example that people emulate.
So don't, make sure that people know where things are at the present time, but try to keep them focused.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mark, what do you like most about running your own company?
Not working for somebody else.
I like that.
In some jest. No, it's true. It's been a while since I've been a corporate employee, and I don't miss it. I'm not sure I could work for anybody else. I'm probably a lousy employee. I do enjoy the different challenges. It's a lot of fun. I mean, every day is different, and it's just a lot of fun. And I don't know what else to say. It's good to know we're doing really good work, and it's good work, for a good reason. That I believe in it, and I can help drive that. It's what gets me up.
Passion and dedication. Thank you. Joe?
Okay. I got to ask George, did you trademark the term technology agnostic yet?
I should.
Yeah, it's a great term. I mean, from an academic perspective, we're looking for buzzwords and so on. I think that's a really excellent
I think I
one.
heard it
Really
about 10
describes-
years ago, though.
You already heard it? Okay.
I worked at a trade pub, so.
Oh. Okay, well, I haven't heard it, so it's new to me. My question now goes down to, we're talking about generations. So the generation I'm speaking here now is about the next generation for your leadership. Not all of us are going to be around forever. So the question that I have for you is, we know that a good leader, and it's already been espoused at some level here, surrounds themselves with good people. Now you have to find people to be in leadership positions. What do you look for when hiring people who will potentially be in leadership positions, not necessarily technological, but leadership positions in your organization? And I'll go in alphabetical order this time, and I have Brian first. So Brian, you go first. Chuck is second, George is third, Mark is fourth. Okay?
It kind of goes back to where we started. And I would say, we look for people that have integrity. We look for people that have intellectual capacity and curiosity, intellectual curiosity. We look for people who have a strong work ethic, people who have a history of commitment to whatever they've done. And sometimes you can tell that through your resume. And people who we think would be good team players, because we need team players in our type of business as compared to people who might be solely good at one thing and can work in their own little cube and from beginning to end, like maybe a researcher might. But the key to any business is its people, and in our case, and the service business, and we try to identify them. We hire some that already have proven records, and then we hire others that have the potential to, and then it's up to us to have programs in place which help them develop and grow and hopefully prosper.
Good, thank you. Chuck?
I think we look for people that are ethically ambitious. For the longest time, we used to say that our employees were our biggest asset. And approximately 80% of our expenses are employees or employee-related. In final analysis, we are a service industry. But we no longer say our employees are our biggest asset. What we say now is that the right employees are our biggest asset. And we try to encourage people when they come to work for us to look at working at Spectrum as a career, not a job. We want them to be married to the mission. We want them to know that there's an opportunity then to move up the ladder, and we want them to be ambitious, ethically ambitious, not so they're going to step all over somebody else to get to where they want to be, but at the same time be ambitious and forward-looking. I keep telling people all the time, you want my job, go after it, go get it, okay? It keeps me on my toes, and I think it also, you look for people that have a match with the kind of business model we have, which is one of being social entrepreneurs. We want to be entrepreneurial, but we're social in the social industry. We want to be social, but we have to also be ethical about the way we approach it, all right? Same time, you look for people who are willing to get dirt under their nails when you have to, all right? We all have to do that from time to time. We all get dirt under our nails when you have to pitch in and do whatever it's got to be necessary. But the most important thing you look for is the people that are ambitious and people you like to be around.
And ethically ambitious,
Yes.
that's an interesting term.
Yeah.
So somebody who seeks not only to be ethical themselves, but maybe impart ethics to others as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you, Chuck. George?
No, it starts with that, and I always say, look for individuals that have what I call good work ethic, and then ethics in general, whether it's a team, it's a corporation, or it's to the society. Then the other thing that we look a lot, and I mentioned it earlier, the can-do type of an attitude individuals. Otherwise, one of the things you say, earlier you asked the question, can you train a leader to become a leader? One of the things that I was lucky to grow up in a family that our parents, basically, they taught us education is the greatest thing that you can ever do in your life, but also that you can do anything you want if you try. And early on, I started setting goals for myself. I grew up in a small village in Greece, and I started a goal to get my best education. Then I wanted to become the best engineer, because I started engineering. And then I went to the MBA school, then I said, okay, now I'm the best business person, and so on. So we look people, the other thing that we look, people that they are goal-oriented. Otherwise, and then self-starters. You look people that they have the initiative. And then if you want for leadership positions, creative. Creativity is very, very important in the evolution of a particular individual. And some of and I took that from my wife, when you interview some people, you ask them, if you came to a particular challenge, what did you do? How did you get across it? And so on. So I will say, and I always say to our people, you don't have to be the smartest, but if you work harder than anybody else, and you have intensity and sense of urgency, you will get there better than anybody else. So those are the kinds of traits that we look. And one of the things, and we always talk about in the company, we hire people, look for individuals that they played in the sports team, and how they did in the sports team, and so on. And that's very helpful. Did they pay for their work through college? Did they work hard through college? And so on. And those are the kinds of things that they identify a particular individual early on, where they have what it takes in order to become a leader. Because I will tell you, there are situations that you have to do just about everything. And the question was asked, what do you like about the job? In my job, I like the complexity. I love the fact that I go in every morning and I don't know many times what the next problem is going to be. I love that. If I don't have anything, then I get bored. So, So, you need people that love challenges.
You want people with lots of energy, but they have to be efficient at it.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay.
Channel it. You gotta
Yes,
channel it.
that's right.
Flexies, you could do my job, but you can't have it.
And finally, Mark, and
Well, there's a lot of things we look for in a leader. Clearly, the skills and experience are all important. I think probably the number one test, and my cohorts in the back of the room will agree, is does this, the next hire get us, get what we're about? I'm a storyteller, so I'll tell a story. We are in the process of hiring a marketing person. I interviewed about 13 people on the phone and brought in about 4. And I've whittled it down. We've got a couple of candidates that we like. We started talking about success with one of the candidates, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get my Lexus." Now, you would think, sure, that's a great measure of success, expensive, nice car, et cetera, et cetera. But the 4 of us came tonight in a Prius. We are not about Lexuses, right? We are not about big cars and heavy energy usage. That is just not us. The candidate, I think, would do a fine job. I think she'd be a great candidate, but I don't quite think she gets us.
Right.
Now, can she learn? Absolutely. We've done it to at least one employee. Done it to her. I mean, she loves the heat turned up high, and we are not turn up the heat high kind of people, right?
Okay.
And she's come along, but if we don't have to come over that hurdle, then we found the right person. And we can teach them anything they need to know, so they don't even have to be well-educated. But if they're willing to learn, we'll take them.
thank you, Gemma. So part of the issue here is the extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. And somebody who's extrinsically could learn how to do something, but intrinsically they might not have the values to be able to really live it as you would like to,
Yeah,
Mark.
and it can be taught.
Okay. Okay, well, I think that's, Rick? Okay, we're going to summarize. So thank you all for your points and wisdom. Very valuable lessons.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Peter.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Rick. Okay, so I'm going to head right into the awards. We're going to hear from each one of the winners briefly, and then that magic curtain will open up when all of our comments are through. Our first awardee is Mark Durrenberger, the founder and president of New England Breeze of Hudson. Mark Durrenberger has been putting his money, his time, and his substantial energy where his mouth is, and that is helping to reduce the carbon footprint in our region through the use of renewable energy. Specifically, he's been building a strong team and delivering steady growth at his 6-year-old company, New England Breeze, which has jumped from a staff of just 2 up to, I think, 13, right? In the last few years, and he has ridden the wave of interest in solar energy. Mark has taken his concern over the carbon footprint of his business quite seriously. While many legendary startups have their early roots in the company founder's garage and eventually grow out of that garage into professional office space, Mark's journey has been from his own kitchen and living room to his business partner's garage. And that's where they are today, 6 years later. So with 13 employees, ouch, is there a realtor in the room, please? Let's find this man some professional office space.
We are looking, by the way.
Okay, good.
The next hire will burst us at the seams.
I'm sure it's an efficient building, I hope, Joy.
Oh, yes, very.
Anyways, all kidding aside, Mark brings a deep passion for the business and commitment to stand by his work that has been a huge part of the company's success. In 2011, the company installed over 2,000 solar panels, and since 2009, the firm's sales are up by more than 100%, while the bottom line has improved by some 300%. Now, how many of us wouldn't be happy with a bottom line improvement of 30% the last 3 years? Forget 300%. But I spotted a reason that it rose to 300%, and here it is. In the questionnaire that Mark filled out as part of the nomination process, he volunteered some interesting personal information, and that is that he and his wife are the proud parents of triplets, 2 sons and a daughter, and they all began college in the fall of 2011. So we know, how's that for motivation? There'll be handouts and other things. Absolutely, it does give one great focus, doesn't it? Anyways, for his professional efforts in establishing a highly successful and growing solar installation business and personal commitment through his extensive community volunteer work to raise awareness about carbon emissions and global warming, please recognize a man who is making a difference, our Small Business Person of the Year, Mark Durrenberger.
The focus gets put on the leader all the time, and it's my job to deflect the focus to the people that work with and for me. We would not be here if it weren't for the huge attention to detail that my first business partner Bill brought on, the exceptional installation skills that my second partner brought on, and the financial skills and system understandings that my third partner has brought on. And then, of course, everybody in the office and the crews that do the installation, they're awesome. And without people like that, you wouldn't be seeing me up here. So I want to thank them and applaud them. Thank you.
I just want to note that in addition to the lovely plaque, that's an honor, we've actually chosen today on Valentine's Day to also give them a nice box of candy that hopefully they will give to someone who will appreciate that as they sit here on Valentine's Day, getting a lovely award. George Sakellaris, the president and CEO of Amoresco, Inc., with headquarters in Framingham. George Sakellaris is no stranger to the Worcester Business Journal. It seems that almost every year his firm has been on our top growth companies list. And how could they not be? In 11 short years, Amoresco has grown from a startup to a $700 million publicly traded company. This amazing growth has been possible, and here comes a sports metaphor, okay, since we're, because George has been able to see, like Larry Bird and Wayne Gretzky, where the ball or the puck is heading well before anyone else on the playing field can. And he's been able to turn that vision for the evolving needs of his industry and his customers into a thriving business. Like our small business honoree, Mark Durrenberger, George Sakellaris has been successful in the energy field, not just because of his business acumen or vision for the future, but because of his true passion for the work. While his company started out with a few regional offices, today they have more than 60 locations throughout the US and Canada, and I also spotted an office in Spain on the map as well on their website, so they've got a toehold in Europe as well. George is clearly a natural on the stage and behind the microphone, and it's probably because he's had a lot of practice. He and Amoresco have been well decorated with awards, including the 2010 New England Energy Council's Employer of the Year, a 2008 Frost & Sullivan Award for Green Excellence, and 3 EPA Project and Partner of the Year awards since 2004, just to name a few. A couple years ago, George had some quality time on C-SPAN, delivering expert testimony to a congressional committee on energy use and our energy future. And on Cinco de Mayo, everyone knows that day, right, of last year, he was on the floor with family and other Amoresco executives ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. So we are clearly honored to have him here with us this afternoon. Amoresco is truly making a difference in reducing the use of energy and increasing our use of alternatives throughout the country. And as an outcome, our dependence on foreign oil, is reducing our dependence on foreign oil supplies. For his leadership, his vision, his ability to assemble, manage, and inspire a superb team, for his company's many energy efficiency projects in the Bay State and beyond, please recognize an entrepreneur who truly possesses the Midas touch, Business Leader of the Year, George Sakellaris.
Thank you very much, Peter. And I want to thank the Worcester Business Journal, as well as the sponsors, Clark University and Charter Business. And you saw it's Valentine's Day today, of course, so my lovely wife is here. And I will tell you, where you get your inspiration many times, my wife, Kathy, and my family. I have 2 young children. They are 13 years old and 11 years old. So I have to continue working. But I got to tell you, sometimes you get lucky, or you're in the right place in the right time, and you say, seize the moment. And back in 1979, I worked for New England Electric for 19 years. They asked me whether it makes economic sense, the chief executive officer, to promote conservation and energy management back there and avoid the need to build some power plants. I was doing long-range planning. And then sure enough, I said, I proved it to them that it does make good economic sense. Then they said, okay, set up a company and do it. And then I've been on my own because I found something what I call, I can truly believe in it, and I have the passion for it. And I've been very lucky in the industry by being so long to be able to attract what I call the best talent in the industry. And this award, it's for our employees, the 900 plus employees that we have right now, because I am I would say, the best team in the United States and Canada in this particular sector. And you say what drives us? The mission right now is to be the #1 company in our space. And I think if we always stay focused on the customer and delivering the best value to each and every customer, each and every time, that we will be able to accomplish that. Again, thank you very much to Worcester Business Journal, Clark University, and Charter Business for arranging this, and each and every one of you for being here. Thank you.
Chuck Ferris, the president and CEO of Spectrum Health Systems. Chuck Ferris is one of those classic start at the bottom and work your way to the top stories. In the early days, he drove a truck, cooked meals, handled the maintenance duties, and did a little counseling, whatever it took to help the Spectrum House, then called the Challenge House, to get off the ground in its role as one of the earliest therapeutic communities for substance abusers in the country. Fast forward almost 40 years from his earliest volunteer work, and you find a CEO of a $47 million organization with 1,200 employees and expanding operations in 8 states. Despite his obvious personal success, he keeps the focus on the patients, on the employees, on the quality of care they deliver every day. His personal journey from volunteer to big-time CEO simply has not gone to his head. For instance, he's a regular for lunch at the counter at Mac's Diner on Shrewsbury Street. And if you don't know that institution, you're just as likely to sit next to a mechanic or a plumber as you are to a lawyer or a politician. Not only that, you can't find his picture on the Spectrum website, and even the letter from leadership on the site is from his board chair, which Mark might have to convince Chuck to co-sign it. So he's not. He's clearly running the organization, but he's sort of resting a little bit behind the scenes, at least in some ways. Yes, Chuck Ferris is the leader on whose watch an incredible period of growth and financial stability has been achieved at Spectrum Health Systems, but he doesn't go seeking the limelight. That makes Chuck the kind of leader we're looking for when it comes to naming a nonprofit CEO of the year. Not only has he led Spectrum House through a significant period of growth, but he's kept them on track and stable through the last 3 years of a turbulent economy where budgets and funding sources have been under enormous pressure. For his role in helping Spectrum Health Systems grow from a local to a truly national player and leader in its field of behavioral health care, for his vision and strategic understanding of his industry, and finally for his compassion for every one of the individuals that Spectrum serves, please recognize our nonprofit Business Leader of the Year, Chuck Ferris.
You know, besides running into all those other people at Mac's Diner that he mentioned, you sometimes occasionally run into a publisher of the Worcester Business Journal as well, sitting at the counter. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Worcester Business Journal. I think given the quality of the people that are on the panel here, it really speaks volumes to the wisdom of the judges they selected to make these selections. I saw a quote recently that said, "Life should be a great adventure." And it certainly has been a great adventure over the last 40 years. But as they also say in the recovery community, you don't do it alone. And I certainly didn't get here alone, nor did Spectrum get here alone. We have an awful lot of people to contribute to, myself as well as the organization. I'd just like to thank some of them here tonight. First of all, I would have to thank my wife, Colleen, who's been with it through the whole 40 years, through the whole peaks and valleys that we've been through. For the time that I was away when I should have maybe been home, and also for the time where occasionally I'm distracted or moody, all right, when I come home. Not too often. I think I get old, older I get, the more mellow I get. And certainly I'd have to thank the Board of Trustees of Spectrum, Mark Bellotta, our chairman, as well as several of the others that are here tonight, that they are very committed to our mission, that they give myself and the staff the latitude and the encouragement to pursue expanding the mission and follow the opportunities that come out there, that they keep a rein on me sometimes, but it's a responsible rein because we just get so enthusiastic about what we do. And I certainly have to thank my staff. We wouldn't be anywhere without the people that we have. Again, many of them are here tonight. I'm very blessed to be surrounded by some very gifted and talented people that have been with us for several years, many of whom have come up through the ranks and hopefully someday will sit in my seat. One of them will be. You can't do it alone. You have to be around people that make you what you are. Right? And as I said earlier, we can't just talk the talk. We have to walk the walk. Thank you.
Okay, Joe? You're up.
Okay, our last awardee is actually to an organization and not just an individual. Let me give a little bit of background here. First of all, Central Massachusetts is fortunate to be the home of many fine banking institutions, and we've come to expect them all to play an important role in supporting our community. Therefore, with the bar already set pretty high, it's not easy for a bank to be recognized as our Corporate Citizen of the Year. Yet here we are, honoring the outstanding contribution that this community receives from its largest independent banking organization, Commerce Bank. When David Duddy Masad invested in the then struggling Commerce Bank in 1993, it would be hard to predict that the organization would have come so far. An undercapitalized $100 million institution 19 years ago has been transformed into a strong and stable $1.4 billion leader. That's, I think, over 1,000% over that time. So when you divide that up, that's a pretty large increase over time. In their application, and that's not what they're being recognized for, they're being recognized for being a corporate citizen. In their application, they identified a number of areas they support for their external stakeholders or their community. They provide philanthropic support for health and elder care services, culture and art, including historic heritage, human need, including economic development, youth, including education, and conservation and environment. That is, they cover all the areas of what a good corporate citizen should be doing. Commerce Bank, and now goes the list in more detail, ranks high in a number of important areas. When we went into the evaluation, it is strong. Commerce Bank has been recognized as a blue ribbon bank by Veribank, an established bank rating agency, for its exceptional attention to safety, soundness, and financial strength. The bank's liquidity and overall financial strength put it in the top 3% of all banks nationally, especially given these very difficult times for banks. Its people are generous. Commerce employees have donated between $65,000 and $75,000 to the United Way in the last couple years. An impressive 83% participation rate that won it the United Way Stoddard Award in 2009, its highest corporate recognition. In addition, you'll find Commerce employees volunteering and giving their time on nonprofit boards throughout the community. I should also say that when they submitted their application, they had 40 pages of events and activities they did and contributing to the community, and that was only over the last year. The bank is generous. While they make annual donations to many nonprofit organizations and causes, Commerce Bank has also been known to write the big check in a time of need. When Worcester's Foley Stadium was in need of a $3 million renovation 5 years ago, it was Commerce Bank who stepped forward with a $1 million gift to make it really happen. They are committed to help growing small business. Yes, they're a pretty big institution when you're talking about $1.4 billion in assets, but Commerce Bank has also been recognized as Worcester County's most active SBA lender for 2 years running. Do you hear that, Mark? They actively support, and this is one that I added in, local educational institutions such as Clark University. They go for their knowledge right where it is, and the best knowledge exists locally. Commerce Bank is an important employer partner for Clark's Graduate School of Management. They've hired several of our students into the commercial banking division and regularly post job opportunities to our students. Several Commerce executives have been active participants in GSOM career service events throughout the years, helping and encouraging many graduate students with their career development. Do you guys hear this, the other members here? Good community and education support. They are here to stay. That's number 6. It's easy to say you're committed to the downtown of the city, but Commerce Bank has backed up that talk with purchase of its downtown headquarters, the Slater Building, this past year for some $4 million. Its commitment to extensive renovations and advancing the energy efficiency of the building bodes well for the health of Worcester's downtown for many years to come. Now, it is our pleasure to recognize an institution that has really stepped up its game. Please recognize our Corporate Citizen of the Year, Commerce Bank and Trust Company, and accepting for Commerce is its President and CEO, Brian Thompson.
Thank you to the Worcester Business Journal, to Clark University, to Charter Business Services for sponsoring this event, to Joe, Rick, and Peter for their efforts of putting together a high-quality program. I'm humbled yet honored to receive this recognition today. Commerce has been in this community for 55 years, and we have very deep roots here. We're committed to this community, we're invested in this community, and we're here to stay. I want to thank David Duddy Massett over here, who has been so supportive of us. And he's the owner, but he is our inspiration when we come in every day, or when he comes in every day, I should say. And to Mikey Angelini, who's one of our directors, who's here today as well. Mikey, thank you for your support. A lot's happening in Worcester. We feel good about Worcester. We think we are building something great here together with so many of you. It's fun and it is exciting. I represent 250 fellow employees in accepting this award. They are our heroes with the dedication that they put forth each day to make our company what we are today. We accept this responsibility as a corporate leader and look forward to building partnerships with each of you in the days ahead, which will make Worcester an even better place to live and to work. Thank you so much.
So, my program, Chris gives us all the details by the minute. My program says 6 o'clock, closing remarks, 3 minutes. I'll take 35 seconds. You ready? Okay, so a special thanks to our presenting sponsors, Clark University's Graduate School of Management and Charter Business. Thank you very much for your support, and thank you also to that wonderful cultural resource in downtown Worcester, the Hanover Theater. As well, a special thanks to our host, the Beechwood Hotel, Curry Printing, Elevation Exhibits, Mark Sarah Productions, shooting the video, Ron Belair, photographer, and Sprout Florists. We thank you all for coming. We know you're here to celebrate with the folks we're honoring, so we'll move into the social time. Let's give one more big hand to this fabulous panel of winners. Thank you all again.